those two emails.
I'd like to see the whole thing.
Yes, sir, Mayor Crutch.
And there was a letter. You have
Two
that too?
letters. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
And I also have a copy of the report from FDLA detailing what inmate Benjamin Whitfield will testify to at the hearing on Wednesday.
Okay. We have witness list.
Your Honor, my understanding is that we have one witness. The others are on their way in. These are civilian witnesses this morning. I just asked for about 15 minutes to try and make sure they're here. They were coming in from out of town. I know they're in town, but
We're not waiting to start the trial, if that's what you're saying.
I was asking for 15 minutes, Your Honor.
You don't have a witness?
I need to go outside and check.
We need to start with somebody, but you've been giving me a list of who you planning to call today.
Yes, sir. I forgot to make one this morning. I apologize. We're kind of ahead of schedule, so if things change.
That's the package that includes the emails. Which ones I intend to mention are listed in the permissive motion. This is a letter that was sent during July of this year. This is the report from the Department of Law Enforcement. This exhibit is in evidence. It states Exhibit 96. The only thing I intend to talk about is the envelope itself. That's already in evidence. It's State 96 with other letters from inmates.
Thank you.
Yeah, step out, Your Honor.
What's that?
Yeah,
Yes.
step out.
Yep. Grab a witness. Let's go. All right, let's have a jury, please. Focus in. Do you need that around your neck to
No,
hear
sir.
from?
No, I don't.
Why don't you give that to Mr. Fuchs?
Here in the courtroom.
Everybody be seated. Good morning, folks. Thanks for being back here. Did the parking arrangement work out all right? Everybody? Okay, good. Anybody have anything they need to report to me, a problem, have been exposed to something they shouldn't have been exposed to? Anybody? All right. May I call your next witness, Mr. Fuchs?
Thank you, Your Honor. This time the state would call Mr. Calvin Moore.
All right. If you'd face the clerk and be sworn, please, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
All right. Have a seat. Slide up the microphone, please, sir.
All right.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jurors?
My name is Calvin Moore.
Okay. Mr. Moore, where do you live here do you live here in Tallahassee?
I live in Wakulla
Okay. And how long have you been a resident of the Tallahassee-Wakulla area?
all my life.
And how old are you?
I'm 38.
Mr. Moore, what do you do for a living?
Career firefighter, security, installer.
Okay. Do you know a gentleman by the name of Henry Segura?
Yes, I do.
How do you know Mr. Segura?
He's like a brother of mine. We come up from middle school together.
Okay. So you've known him a long time then?
A long time.
It's my understanding that Mr. Segura was a welder. At any point, did you do welding as well?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you ever talk to him about his job?
Yes.
It's fair to say that given how long your friendship you had with Mr. Segura, have you, I assume y'all talked a lot?
Yes.
And phone calls, things along those lines?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, you know why you're here today.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this has to do with a homicide that occurred back on November 19th, 20th of 2010.
Yes, sir.
During that time period, did you have any communication with Mr. Segura on a phone number of 850-408-8669?
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, did Mr. Segura have multiple phones?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Prior to that, that date of November of 2010, had you had any conversations with Mr. Segura about getting a welding job or something over in Afghanistan?
We talked about going overseas and working prior to this. Yes.
Okay. And why was it that you were talking about going overseas and working there versus the United States?
It's good money.
Okay. What kind of money are we talking about?
Any 6 figures.
Did you and Mr. Segura talk about any issues regarding going to Afghanistan as it relates to back child support?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
You have to have. You can't have more than 5,000 in back old child support in order to get a passport. So we kind of talked about that.
Okay. Was there a conversation between you, Mr. Segura, the fact that he wouldn't be able to go and get this job because of the fact that he owed more than that in child support?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Moore, let's talk a little bit more about your background. Were you ever in the military?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what branch of the military were you in?
Army.
Okay. And how long?
4 years.
Familiar with firearms relatively?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever know Mr. Segura to have a gun?
Yes, I do.
Do you know the difference between a revolver and a semi-automatic gun?
I'm very familiar with that.
Okay. The gun that Mr. Segura had, was it a revolver or a semi-automatic?
It was a revolver.
And do you know what caliber of that gun was?
It was a 32.
How is it that you know that?
That's what he told me actually when I verified what type of caliber the weapon was.
So you actually saw the gun?
Yes, I did.
And you asked him about it?
Yes.
And he told you it was a 32?
Yes.
Do you see Mr. Segura here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Can you please point to him and indicate an article of clothing, please?
Right.
The gentleman in the yellow shirt and blue suit.
Yes, sir.
May the record please reflect these indicators of the No further questions.
Cross?
Mr. Moore, when was it that you claimed to have seen Mr. Segura with a firearm?
It was prior to the incident.
How far prior to the incident?
Could have been a couple months.
A couple of months?
Yes, sir.
Where was that?
He was getting ready for a job, and he was packing up to leave. He had a Buick Roadmaster, and I saw it in the trunk, and he moved it to the cab of the vehicle, the front vehicle.
That back in July?
I can't really pinpoint the time frame, what month it was. It's been so long.
Does that sound within the general time frame about which you're talking?
It could be.
So that's July of 2010, before the murder?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At some point in the past, did Mr. Segura sell you an '89 box Chevy?
Yes, he did.
Prior to that, had you been out of the country working, earning money?
Prior to that,
Prior to
No.
him selling you the vehicle?
no,
Been out of town?
no.
Were you dating somebody named Lisa Gaines during that time period?
When he sold me the box Chevy, no, I've been married for a long time.
Do you recall finding pictures that Miss Gaines, who was a girlfriend of yours, right?
Yes,
Do you recall finding pictures of Miss Gaines in lingerie in the trunk of the vehicle that Mr. Segura sent you?
yes, sir.
I have no further questions at this time.
Redirect.
There you are.
All right, any juror have a question of this witness? All right, if not, you may step down. Do we need to keep him any further?
He'll be retained, Your Honor, but he can go out of business.
All right. I'm sorry, hold on a second. You have a question? Write your question down, please. Let's go sidebar. Couple of follow-up questions, Mr. Moore, from the jury about the gun you were talking about. Do you know anything about the make or model of the gun you saw?
No, I don't. I didn't get to see it that close.
All right. Could you tell how many rounds it held?
Most revolvers hold 6 shots, but I didn't get to see in particular. I didn't hold the gun at all.
Okay. Could you tell whether it had live ammunition in it?
No, I didn't.
And did Mr. Segura say anything about where he had got the gun?
No, he didn't.
He say anything about how long he had had it?
No.
All right. Any follow-up from the state?
No, State, Your Honor.
From the defense?
Not from the defense.
All right, you can step down. So you remain subject to recall, but you can go about your business. Call your next witness.
Yes, Your
Face the clerk and be sworn, please, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Have a seat. Slide up the microphone, please, sir. Slide forward if you would a little bit, so get you near the microphone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Silas Adam Thornton.
And Mr. Thornton, do you live here in town?
No, sir.
Where do you live?
South Chopper, Florida.
Okay. And South Choppy's down there in Wakulla County, correct?
Yes, sir.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a welder.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
15 years.
As a welder, do you do stuff, you mainly work here in Tallahassee, or do you go around to different locations?
Different location.
And I think right now you're kind of somewhere down in the Central Florida area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you know Mr. Henry Segura?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you see that person here in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
And could you please point to him and indicate the color of clothing he's wearing?
Yellow shirt with a blue vest.
Okay, may the record please reflect he's indicated Mr. Segura. How long have you known Mr. Segura?
12 years, 10 years.
During that time period, did he ever come to your house?
Yes, sir.
How many times did he come to your house?
Maybe 2, 3 times.
Was one of those times back on November 20th of 2010, the day after these murders?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Okay. And he came to the house to visit you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was this a pre-planned thing where he was planning on coming down there, or was it more of a spontaneous thing?
It was spontaneous, really, but I mean, just, he called and asked, he said he was in the area and asked if he can come out, so yeah, no problem.
What time did he call and talk to you and say he was in the area?
It was morning time, early.
No, when you say early, are we talking about 9, 8, 7?
8, 9, somewhere in there.
Okay.
To the best of my recollection.
And he said he was in the area and going to come by?
Yes, sir.
Do you find it odd that he was in the area of South Choppy?
Yeah.
When he was there, what did y'all do?
Just really just hung out. Had some other company over. Ate chicken and lunch and played football in the yard with the kids. I had some guys come by with a boat job. They wanted me to do a T-top on. We looked at it and shot the bow and arrow in the backyard and really just hung out.
Shooting a bow and arrow, did Mr. Segura participate in that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you have a range or anything like that at your house or area that you shoot bows?
Just behind the house, out toward the woods.
During that time period, did Mr. Segura go and crawl through the woods or anything that we would get scratched up or anything?
We had reached to a fence that was behind my property, but it was just, whoever was shooting the arrow, the other person retrieved them.
He just reached through a fence?
Yes, sir.
What kind of fence? Are you talking about chain link?
What we consider to be a hog wire fence, like a kind of large square.
Okay. All right, but nobody crawling over the fence and going into the woods or anything like that?
No, sir.
You and Mr. Segura ever talk on the phone?
Yes, sir.
Do you know Mr. Segura having more than one phone?
Yes, sir.
Do you know of, at some point, did you have a phone that eventually Mr. Segura ended up with?
Yes, sir.
Can you please tell the jury about how that happened?
Henry and I was out of town working. Instead of renting a motel room, we were trying to be cheap, so my sister lived in the area. We stayed at my sister's house. I had a phone on her counter in the kitchen, being charged or whatnot, and she had washed dishes and either knocked tea over the phone. I don't really remember exactly. Either got wet with the kitchen water, dishwater, or either tea. they said put the phone in rice, and I tried that, taking the battery out and putting it in rice. And a couple days later, it was swapping my contacts, and the numbers were different. I called, believing I was calling one person, it would call another person. So I just, I told Henry I was gonna get another phone, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. And got another phone, and, just so you can have the phone for your boy, whatnot, you know what I'm saying? He said he might get it fixed or something like that. So
The rice trick, I guess.
it didn't work.
Didn't work. Who told you about that?
My sister.
Okay. This phone that we're talking about, did you take it with you or did you leave it somewhere?
I just left it in the truck.
Whose truck?
Henry.
Okay, so you left that phone in Mr. Segura's truck?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At some point, did you become aware that Mr. Segura was using that phone?
I don't recall. Really, he's called me before or whatnot, but I don't know if he called me off that phone or.
Did you ever know Mr. Segura to utilize the phone 408-8669 back then?
Not really that I recall, no, sir.
Fair to say you don't really remember a
I
whole
don't
lot
really-
now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, it's just, I don't remember about what number he called me off of. I don't remember the phone number.
Okay. At some point, did law enforcement come out and talk to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did they ask you about that phone and what we just talked about?
Yes, sir.
Did they ask you to take them to Walmart and show you what phone it was that you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
You might?
Sure, there was some previously marked state exhibit number 123 for identification purposes. Actually, take a look at that item. Do you recognize that?
That's the same kind of phone.
I'm sorry?
That's the same kind of phone.
And is that the same kind of phone that you left in Mr. Segura's truck?
Yes, sir.
And that's the same kind of phone, and boxing and everything like that, as far that you took Tallahassee Police Department and showed them what kind of phone we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And where did you take them?
To the Walmart in Crawfordville.
One moment. No further questions at this time.
Cross?
Mr. Thornton, you and Mr. Segura had been working down in Tampa or St. Pete area the week prior to the murder, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Y'all rode back up together?
Yes, sir.
Had y'all had discussions on the way back up about putting up a dog line at your house?
Probably, yes, sir.
Okay.
We had both had bulldogs at the time.
Okay. Did you discuss a time frame for doing that?
I don't recall the time frame. I'm sure we did.
Okay. And y'all were going to be off work for just a little bit of time before you started the next job, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No further questions at this time.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor.
All right, you can sit down. We need to keep this witness further.
No, sir.
I'm sorry, we have a question of this witness. All right, we'll go sidebar. I'm sorry, have a seat for a second.
No, no.
I'm sorry. There was another question. Is there another question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, we need to be quick on that. I'm sorry. right, the first question relates to the phone, and we're talking about phone you had back in November 2010. Was Mr. Segura stored as a contact in that phone?
I'm not, I mean, I had him under Henry under my phone, or Junior, excuse me, I had him under Junior.
Think he was saved in there?
Yes, sir, on my phone he was, yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't believe, I mean, I had him previously saved in my phone before I gave him the other phone, so I don't ever recall swapping phone numbers.
Okay. But the phone that you say ended up in Mr. Segura's possession, I guess that's your testimony. He ended up with your phone, is that what I
Yes,
understood?
sir, my old phone, I didn't store that number in my phone, I don't believe, no, sir.
Was his number stored in that old phone, as you put it?
Yes, sir,
Okay. And would have been stored as what?
Junior.
Okay. Now switching over to the day of the visit, I think you've said it was the day after the murder. Is that what I understood?
I believe so, yes, sir.
And that's when you were using the bow and arrow?
Yes, sir.
And the area where you were shooting the arrows into, were there bushes out in the area around the fence you were talking
Yes, sir.
about? Okay. Any follow-up, Mr. Fuchs?
Yes, Your Honor. Regarding being stored in your phone, you said that Mr. Segura had multiple phone numbers?
When I gave him that phone, he had another phone, which, yes, sir.
So he would have had another phone number that was the one stored?
The phone that he had, the phone that I had that got tore up, had Mr. Segura's phone number and contact in that phone,
Okay.
under Junior, I believe.
And then that phone is the one that Mr. Segura ended up with?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. As it relates to the bushes in your yard, you obviously live in Sopchoppy, which is kind of out there in the rural area, correct?
Yes, sir.
The bushes, so there's a lot of bushes in your yard and around your yard, correct?
Well, there's, the grass is cut around the house, but behind the fence area, it's growed up pretty good, yes, sir.
All right, so you'd have to cross the fence in order to get to that the grown-up area where the bushes are.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's just growed up there at the fence line pretty much.
Fair to say that when you're shooting the bow and arrow, you're shooting in an open area, so that way you can practice your targeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then the bushes are behind the fence that we talked about.
Yes, sir.
Okay, no further questions.
Cross.
Mr. Thornton, so when y'all are out there shooting arrows and that, you have a target set up, correct?
Yes, sir.
Behind the target is a fence,
Yes, sir.
and you said the fence line, there's bushes growing up all around it, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Is that what you said? Both on the other side of the fence
Yes, sir.
and on the side of the fence that you were shooting from?
I just don't always weed eat it right there. I mean, it's a growed up area.
Okay.
It's a swampy area, you know what I'm saying? The fence is here, bushes on the back side of the fence, and, I don't weed eat all the time. I just mow there. It's a backyard. It's not, in the front of my house.
And so if you're, if you miss the target and the target's at the fence, around the fence, past the fence, and you're having to reach through this hog wire fence,
Yes, sir.
would you be reaching into the bushes to retrieve the arrows?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, around this time, you were spending a lot of time with Mr. Segura, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. You would ride in his truck with him
Yes, sir.
on jobs and,
I didn't have a license. We done the same
Okay.
kind of work and worked for the same companies.
okay. In the months leading up to the murders in this case, let's say August through November, at any point did you ever see Henry Segura with a revolver?
I've seen him with a pistol before.
Would that been back in July?
We'd worked at Wakulla Correctional Institution together, and I seen a pistol in his car at that time, but I don't, I couldn't.
You don't remember exactly?
I
what
couldn't
it
tell you
was?
exactly what it looked like, no, sir.
Okay. At no point in time close to the murder, do you recall seeing that firearm?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Anything further, Mr. Fuchs?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you can step down. We want to keep him further.
He'll be retained, Your Honor, but you can go
All
back
right.
to business.
You can go about your business, subject to recall. Call your next witness.
Thank you.
Been trying to kind of get the sound monitored. I can't really tell what y'all are hearing Are y'all hearing everything okay? I think yesterday I may have got it up a little bit too high, but I was trying to get the video up a little louder. It seemed a little low, but you're on different speakers than I am, so if at some point in time you can't hear or it's too high that it's breaking up on you, be sure and let me know. Come on up here, please, ma'am. If you face the clerk and be sworn, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Have a seat. Slide up the microphone, please.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jurors?
My name is Natasha Smith Hawthorne.
Okay, and can you please spell your first and your last name for Madam Reporter?
Natasha, last name Smith Hawthorne, SMITH-HAWTHORNE.
Okay. And do you live in Tallahassee?
No, I live in Tampa, Florida,
Okay. And how long have you lived in Tampa, Florida?
since 2014,
Back in 2010, where'd you live?
in Tallahassee.
Do you know Henry Segura?
I do.
And do you see Mr. Segura here in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you please point him and indicate a color of clothing he's wearing?
He's here at the defense table in a yellow shirt and a blue suit.
All right, thank you. May the record please reflect she's indicated Mr. Segura. How long have you known Mr. Segura?
Since early 2010.
And how is it that you met Mr. Segura?
We were in a restaurant. I don't know. We were both ordering at a restaurant one day.
Okay. Since in that time period, did you talk to him on a pretty regular basis?
Yes.
And when I say talk to, were you emailing him?
Yes.
Back and forth, you emailing him and him emailing you?
Correct.
And were you also talking on the phone occasionally?
Occasionally.
Okay. And how about text messaging?
Yes.
Did you know whether Mr. Segura had one phone or two phones at that time? Or more than one phone, I guess?
At some point, I was aware that he had two phones.
Okay. And I believe one of those phone numbers started with a 509 area phone call?
Yes.
Phone number?
Yes.
And was the other phone number 408-8669?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to Mr. Segura about his kids in Tallahassee?
Yes.
Did he ever tell you about his son, Javante?
No.
If I can take you back to November the 19th of 2010, do you recall receiving any kind of text messages or phone calls or something from Mr. Segura on that day?
Yes.
What do you remember?
I recall that we communicated about getting together later on in the evening on the 19th. I recall that I was having my nails done at various salons, nails, toes. And that's about the gist of it.
Okay. Do you remember receiving any kind of text message or something from Mr. Segura saying that he was somewhere other than his home?
Yes.
Where would he say he was?
I don't recall that the message said specifically he was anywhere. I recall that he said he was on his way home.
Okay. And do you remember when that was?
Somewhere between 9 and 10, I believe.
And we're talking about the Friday, November the 19th.
That's right.
All right, one moment here.
Let me just clarify, you said 9 or 10, you're talking about in the morning or evening?
PM.
PM.
Yes, sir.
That 408-8669 phone number, whenever he utilized that to either call you, text message, did he ever block it, star 67 it,
No, sir.
so it showed up on your ID?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross.
Ms. Hawthorne, after Mr. Segura got home on the evening of the 19th, you and he started communicating frequently, correct?
Yes.
Via text message?
Yes.
And y'all were planning to set up a meeting at a hotel, right?
Yes.
You were involved in a sexual relationship with Mr. Segura at that time.
Yes.
And when interviewed by the police originally, you told them that you guys were just friends, that you used to be in a sexual relationship prior to his son passing away, but not after that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why did you tell them that?
Well, because I was aware that he was married. I knew that, his wife didn't know about me. I knew that at some point she probably would know about me if I told him that we were involved in a relationship. And I knew that he had lost a son, and, there had been a conversation between he and his wife that they were going to be faithful, that he was going to be faithful. And so I knew that if I admitted that, then she would know that he wasn't.
So you were willing to mislead law enforcement about something not directly relevant to the investigation to help protect Mr. Segura's marriage?
I was.
No further questions.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor.
Any juror have a question of this witness? All right, you can step down. Do we need to keep her further?
Your Honor, she'll be retained if you go about it.
All right. You need her, Mr. Brent?
I'll keep her under the rule and
All right,
as well.
you be subject to recall, but you can go about your business. Call your next witness.
They call her Monica Peters.
Come up here, please, ma'am. Would you face the clerk and be sworn, please?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do.
All right, have a seat and slide up the microphone, please, ma'am. You can slide up to the microphone. That'd be good. Ms. Dugan?
Good morning, Ms. Peters. Will you state your name and then spell it for our court reporter, please?
Monica Peters, Monica, Peters, Peters.
Thank you. And how do you know, or how did you know Brandy Peters?
She's my sister.
At some point, did you used to live with Brandy Peters and her children?
Yes,
And how long did you live with them for?
maybe about 4 months.
But you weren't living with them on November 19th of 2010, right?
No,
Now, in your experience living with them, what time did Brandy typically feed her children?
maybe about 5, 6 o'clock.
So an earlier dinner as opposed to a later dinner?
Yeah.
Are you aware of any damage to any of Miss Peters' window screens there at her Saddle Creek Run house?
Yes,
And was it just one window screen that was damaged?
yes, on the back side of her house, maybe. I think maybe in her around her master bedroom area.
All right. And was that window screen damaged before November 19th of 2010?
Yes, ma'am.
Had that damage always been there? How do you know about it?
It been there since she moved in the house. The screen was already tore out, because you have to inspect the house because she lives on Section 8, so you have to do a full inspection.
Okay. I want to talk about November 19th of 2010 just briefly. When was the last time that you remember talking to Miss Peters that day?
That evening, maybe that was late in the evening time.
Okay, you said evening time?
Yeah.
When you say evening time, are you talking more about 5 o'clock or more about 9 o'clock?
5-ish, 6-ish, somewhere around there.
Okay. And later that night, did you try to call her again?
Yeah, I tried to call her a few times.
What
and
happened?
The phone went to voicemail.
Is it unusual for her phone to go straight to voicemail?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
I guess was she one of those people who always had her phone on, always on the phone?
Always.
How long did Brandy live at her Saddle Creek Run home?
Oh, maybe about, I can't remember. Maybe about, maybe a little close to 3 years, I think. 2-3 years, I think. If I can remember.
And did the defendant in this case, Mr. Segura, did he ever live with her and the kids, not necessarily at that home, but just at some point?
Not that I know of.
Just a second. No further questions.
Brock?
Ms. Peters, your sister used to live over off of Holton Street for a while, right?
Yes, she did.
Before she lived off of Saddle Creek.
Yes.
Were you aware during the time that she was living there that Mr. Segura was staying with her, or you didn't know about that?
Nope. I
You
didn't
didn't
know
know?
nothing about that one.
Okay.
That's new.
You testified a minute ago that your best recollection is that you last spoke to Brandy at about, what, 5 o'clock, did you say?
Yeah, maybe 5. She came by my house with my mom that evening. She was going to pick up her daughters from school, so yeah.
Okay. You were actually at the scene, at her home, the morning she was discovered, correct?
I was the first one there.
And you had a chance to speak to law enforcement?
Yeah.
Do you recall telling the officers that morning that you spoke to Brandy on the phone, not tried to call her, spoke to her on the phone at 10 o'clock p.m. the night before?
No, sir.
Would it refresh your recollection if I
Yeah,
showed
bring
you?
it on, bring it on.
Yeah, first witness, Your Honor.
You may. Just read whatever he's showing to yourself, please, ma'am.
No, I don't.
Just
remember.
read it to yourself, but don't say anything, and then he'll ask you a question. All right? You
Did you have
step
a chance?
back, Mr. Prince.
Yes, sir. Did you have a chance to read that, ma'am?
Yes.
Did that refresh your recollection at all?
No.
You still don't recall telling law enforcement you
Nope.
spoke to Brandy at 10?
Nope.
Okay, no further questions.
Redirect.
Yes, sir. In that sworn statement that the defense just showed you, did you say,
Push that mic back a little bit from you, Mr.
Sorry.
Dukes.
I called to see if I had to talk to her, it was about 10 or 9 p.m.?
Yeah.
And what did you mean by that?
I was calling to try to get her on the phone because at that time, my daughter, she was crying about going over there because usually on the weekend, she usually always go to Brandy's house. I called a few times. My mama called me around 9-ish, maybe around 9-ish or 10 o'clock, and she asked me, have I spoken to Brandy? And I told her, I said, no. I said, I kept trying to call her phone a few times, and it kept going to voicemail. And she was like, I did too. I said, well, maybe she's at CC house because she's known to be at CC house a lot. I mean, when she's not home, so I said maybe she didn't understand that her phone had been went dead or whatever.
All right,
So-
let me ask you about a deposition that you gave. Did you give an interview that you gave? Did you give an interview to police on November 24th of 2010?
Yeah, I remember them calling me.
Okay, and that was at Tallahassee Police Department?
Yes.
And I'm referring to page 13, line 15 through 19 of that interview. Permission to approach?
You may.
you have an opportunity to read those sections of your interview?
Yes.
And in those sections of your interview, do
Your
you,
Honor, I would object to this. Sustain.
okay. May we approach?
Okay.
And I just have one more question for you, Ms. Peters. Permission to approach?
You may. You want to read them?
That's your written statement that I just showed you, correct? Is that your handwriting in the statement that you gave to police on November 20th?
Yeah.
Okay, and is that what Mr. Prince just showed you when he asked you about what you told police?
Yes.
Okay, did he show you anything else?
No.
Okay, that's all.
Any juror have a question of this witness? All right, write your question down. We'll go sidebar, please. All right, you can step down, Ms. Peters. Do we need to keep her?
No, sir.
Do you need her for any reason? You're excused to stay in the courtroom or go about your business as you see fit. Next witness. Everybody doing okay? Need a break? You good? All right. You need, somebody need a break? All right, let's take 10 minutes. Either side. Everybody be seated, please. If you would face the clerk and be sworn, please. Ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
May proceed.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jurors?
Hello, I'm Tyra Wilcoxon.
And can you please spell your first and last name for Madam Reporter?
Yes, Tyra Wilcoxon, Wilcoxson.
Okay. And Ms. Wilcoxon, do you live here in Tallahassee, Florida?
For the most part, but I'm never here.
What do you mean for the most part?
My job, I'm never, it's like I live on the road.
Okay. My understanding is you drive trucks for a living, essentially?
Yes,
Okay. Fair enough to say you're traveling all over the country then?
yes,
Tallahassee kind of the home when you can get away?
yes, most of the time.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
3 years.
Okay. How long have you been, prior to doing that, did you live here in Tallahassee regularly?
Yes,
Okay. And how long did you live in Tallahassee at that point?
I'd say since and forever. I was here off and on, say about 10 years.
Okay. So you would have been living here around 2010, November 2010?
Yes,
Okay. When you lived here, did you know Henry Segura?
yes.
Okay. And how is it you knew Mr. Segura?
When I first met him, or how long?
Yeah.
Oh, I first met him in the neighborhood when I was in middle school.
Okay. At some point, did you and Mr. Segura kind of start dating a little bit or something along those lines?
Yes,
Okay. And it's my understanding you went on a trip with him over to Savannah,
yes,
and that ended badly.
yes.
Was that the last time you and Mr. Segura were together, I guess?
No,
Okay. So y'all made up after that and started talking some more?
yes,
Okay. Whenever you talked to him, did you talk to him regularly on the phone?
yes,
Okay. Did you know him to have more than one phone number?
yes.
Do you remember what those phone numbers were?
No,
Okay. If I told you one of them started with a 509, would that sound right?
Yes,
Okay. And another one was a 408-8669.
yes.
Okay. Now, which one of those, the 509 or the 408 number, would have been his regular number, I guess, if you will?
I guess the 509.
Okay. And then, did you have any conversations with him on that 408-8669 number?
Yes,
Okay. Was he using that number around the time of the murders? You know why you're here, right?
yes. He got that phone when I was with him, I think, because he told me to call him on that one because his girlfriend be checking a bill or something.
Okay. Now, but he continued to use it? Did he continue to use it after that?
After,
Did you call him on that phone? Did you call him on that 408-8669
oh, yes.
phone? Okay. At some point after the murders, did he tell you he got rid of that phone?
He told me, he told me don't call him on that one no more. He said he got rid of it
Okay. About how long after the murders did that happen?
immediately after the murders because I didn't know about the murder, but he told me call me on the other phone. He said he'll call me from a different phone.
You never learned of the murders?
On Tuesday morning, I learned of it.
Okay. And at that point on that Tuesday, had he told you already that he was going to get rid of that, to not call him on that 408 number?
He
Or was
told
it
me
afterwards?
no, it was probably
If you don't remember, that's fair enough.
probably like that day before, like a Monday or something. It was like
Okay.
probably the day before or something.
Okay, so the day before you found out about the murders, you found about the murders on Tuesday, and then the day before he told you don't ever call him on that 408 number again.
Yeah.
Okay. Prior to, if I told you the murders happened, I know you found out on Tuesday, but if I told you the murders happened the previous Friday, on November the 19th. So the Friday before the Tuesday, you found out on Tuesday, the immediate Friday before is when the murders would have happened. Does that sound about right? Maybe.
Repeat that. I'm lost.
My understanding is you found out about the murders on the Tuesday. That's when you found out about it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you find out the murders actually happened the Friday before that is when it actually occurred?
I don't know when the murders. I was in Orlando. I don't know when it happened.
Okay, what were you doing in Orlando?
I was there for the Classic weekend. For
Florida A&M football game?
yes,
Okay. Prior to that weekend, did Mr. Segura ever come and talk to you about getting a gun?
yes.
What did he say?
He asked about my gun, and I told him that can't happen. He asked to use mine.
Okay. When was that?
That was when I was home getting ready to. I was getting myself in my apartment ready to go to the game.
Okay, so you're talking about right before that weekend.
Right before that weekend.
When did you leave to go to the game?
I think I left Friday morning.
Okay. So just before Friday morning, you're getting ready. So basically Thursday night, was that when you were getting ready?
I think Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
It was like in the evening, like Wednesday or Tuesday. I'm not sure exactly which day it was.
So Tuesday or Wednesday before you go to the football game is when he asked you about borrowing your gun?
He popped up. He popped up. He was red and balled up. And I was trying to ask him what's wrong, but he never said what was wrong with him. He didn't say why he was. I never seen nobody that mad. He was just real mad. And I didn't know why he was mad. He never said why he was mad.
So you saw him in person then, it wasn't on
Yeah, I
the
saw
phone?
him in person. He popped up.
With Coxon, you got, you've been convicted of 2 petty thefts, as I understand it?
I remember one, but yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was.
That change anything about your testimony today?
No.
So on the Tuesday or Wednesday, you meet with him, he's angry. I think you described him as balled up? What did you describe him as? You said he was angry. I think you said something like balled up, or
Oh, yeah, he was real red and intense and mad. He was just mad.
did he tell you what he was mad at?
He didn't never say what he was mad about.
Okay. When he talked about the gun, what did he say specifically? Do you remember?
He didn't talk about it. He just asked me to use mine, and I told him if I find something, because I thought somebody was probably messing with him, and I said, if I find something, I'll let you know, like a throwaway gun or something. You don't want to use nobody's gun if you're going to do something crazy, if it's not yours.
Okay. So you had a gun,
Oh, yeah.
and you said, no, I'm not going to give him yours, but you said if you ever found one, you let him borrow that.
Yeah, if I find out anything, I'll
Okay.
let him know about it.
Mr. Segura that we've been talking about, do you see him here in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you please point to him and indicate the color of clothing he's wearing, please?
Blue and yellow. Blue and yellow shirt.
May the record please reflect she's indicated the defendant, Mr. Segura. All right, thank you.
Cross, yeah, may we approach there, please? All right. Mr. Cummings.
Hi, Mr. Wilcoxon. My name's Greg Cummings. We actually talked on the phone a couple weeks ago. Remember
Yes.
you were in Ohio?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know I'm that guy.
Okay.
Have you ever been convicted of any felonies or crimes involving dishonesty or deceit?
I
And
think
if
we
so-
need to separate that question out, please, Mr. Cummings.
If it was, I apologize. Was it number 2?
It's a crime of dishonesty. We need to separate out the question, please.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime of dishonesty? And if so, how many? And
I'm not sure what you were asking me. I mean, the petty theft? Yes, I guess.
Have you ever been convicted of 2 petty thefts?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, and I apologize if that had already been asked. Ms. Wilcoxon, back in 2010, in November 2010, what was your phone number back then?
I couldn't tell you that. My number changes all the time.
All the time, but you're able to remember these numbers out of the air?
If you tell me if you say the number that was mine, I can tell you it was mine.
Honestly, I don't know it.
Okay.
I was hoping you would, since you had the memory about Henry's numbers with just, the 509 or the 408.
Yeah, if you say one of my numbers that I had, I'll remember. But as far as just remembering them out the air, I can't do that.
Okay. But your testimony is that Mr. Segura used at least one of the phones that we've heard about to call you on more than one occasion. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it was either the 408 number or the 509 number?
No, he was using the 408 number. He wasn't using the main number anymore because of the phone bill.
Okay. But he had in the past used the 509 number?
He did, but we was in Homicessa, Florida, and the wife kept calling about the bill and that he's still talking to me or something, but so he wasn't calling me on that one anymore.
Now, at the time, in November of 2010, you were living at 601 6th Street, correct?
Yes.
Okay, 601 6th Street in Tallahassee, Florida.
What was it, 6th Avenue? But yes,
6th
that's
Avenue? Maybe 6th Avenue?
6, yes.
One of them. And how long did you live there?
Probably about a year or less.
And do you recall when you might have moved from there?
Yes,
When
I moved from there Probably like in April,
April 2011?
April 2011.
Did you ever live on Victory Garden Drive?
No.
Not that you can recall. My understanding, according to the state, there was something that happened in Havana. In fact, you and Mr. Segura sort of got into it, and he put your stuff out on the road and left you stranded in Savannah, did he not?
Yes, he did.
And was part of that because you had called his wife and told him that, hey, I'm with Henry?
Yes.
And
I assume we're talking about Havana, Florida.
I'm sorry,
Savannah.
Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah, Georgia, okay.
If I said
A little
Havana,
bit
Georgia, I
harder.
apologize.
Savannah, Georgia, okay.
Okay. And eventually you found your way home, and you were a little upset at that point in time, weren't you?
Sure.
And the day you say that Henry showed up at your house the week before these murders took place. Now, you've told the police at one point in time you thought it was on the 15th. So that would have been a Monday, but you weren't sure then either, were you? You weren't certain at that point in time it was roughly the 15th. You remember in a statement to the police making that statement?
Roughly the 15th for telling them what
Telling
exactly?
them what day he showed up.
Oh, no, I'm not sure which day it was. It was like 6 years ago. But
But even back then, when they talked to you on November 30th, 2011, you remember the investigator Annie Marie Johnson talked to you? Do you remember
yes.
that? Okay, so that was about 2 weeks after the event. At that point in time, you weren't even certain what day it was, were you?
What day he showed up?
Yes.
Oh, no, I'm not sure exactly. I wasn't sure then, but it was before I was on my way to Orlando. That's the main time frame that I remember because I know where I was going.
But are you sure it's the week before, or could it have been 2 weeks before?
No, it wasn't too far away from me getting ready to go on my trip.
Okay, and in the deposition and in today, in testimony today, you said it was Tuesday or Wednesday.
Exactly.
Okay. And you recall in the deposition, you said it was towards the beginning of the week. That's the best you could come up with.
Correct.
Okay.
It wasn't a main event in my life that he popped up.
Okay.
That's why I don't.
It wasn't unusual for Henry to show up.
It was unusual because he usually called. He was just popped up.
Okay. And I guess I misunderstood you. I thought you said he called that day in some testimony just a minute ago that he had called.
He used
and
that phone
was
to
mad.
call me. Yeah.
That day.
No, he didn't call that day. That night when he popped up, he didn't call me.
Okay. Did he use his phone while he was there?
No. Not that I know of. I didn't notice him on the phone.
And you're telling the jury today that you made some comment to him that you would help him find a gun, maybe a throwaway gun.
Yes.
Now, at some point in time on this Tuesday, you say, the day you found out about the murders, where were you? Were you at your sister's?
No, I was riding around. I was giving somebody a ride, and they asked me, did I hear about it? And when I dropped them off, I was like,
Did you go over to your sister's that day?
I went over to my sister's house that day, but when I found out, first thing I did was went home to get on my computer.
Get on your computer and do some research.
Right.
See what's up.
No, not to do research. I had to contact my friend in Daytona to see what, to let her know that Brandy, something happened to her. That was her friend. We had a mutual friend.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go home. Eventually, you get to your sister's house and start talking about, I know about this. I know something about this. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And you're at your sister's house, and there's some other people there.
Yes.
And you told us before that Henry called at that point in time. When you were at your sister's house, that Henry called.
Either he called or I called him.
Okay. On the speakerphone, you put him on a speakerphone. So would that have been your cell phone?
Yes.
Okay, it wouldn't have been a hard line.
No, it was my cell
It
phone.
was your cell phone. So one way or another on this Tuesday, Henry calls, correct?
Correct.
Or you call Henry.
Well, he called me. I couldn't remember if I called him or he called, but the call happened and I put him on the speakerphone.
And your sister and the other ladies that were there, they were able to listen to him talking.
Yes.
And after that conversation, was it your sister that said, man, you need to call Crime Stoppers?
Yes.
There's probably a reward for that, isn't there?
No, she didn't say anything about a reward. She have kids. I don't have kids, so I try to sympathize. I do have nieces and nephews, but the women, they have kids, and she said that I should call.
What time of day did that phone call occur? Do you recall?
It was, if I found out like 10 something. It had to be around noon.
Noon? And the day that Henry actually came over to your house the week before, when he popped up, do you recall what time of day that was?
That was evening, late evening.
Late evening? Still light out, but actually in November it gets dark pretty quick. So was it dark when he showed up?
I don't recall, but he showed up. Like I said, it wasn't a main event until all of this happened. I can't tell you everything that happened when that day.
And the cell phone you would have used at the time to either call Henry or Henry called you on that Tuesday, you don't recall that number?
I don't know if it was a 284. No, I don't recall. My number changed so much, I don't recall. To this day, my number still changes a lot.
Okay. Now, the Crime Stoppers, you called in anonymously, didn't you?
Yes.
And then the officers show up on the 30th of, let's see, the Crime Stoppers that Tuesday would have been the 23rd of November, on a Tuesday. And you talked to the officers on November 30th, did you not?
I don't know the exact date, but yes, I did talk to the
You
officers.
did talk to them. And before that, when you called in Crime Stoppers and you told them the information, they told you the criteria for you to collect your money, if there's a reward, didn't they? They told you how to do that, didn't they?
No, and I didn't actually talk to them. I did it online. I didn't talk to a person. I did my Crime Stopper thing. I didn't use my voice. I did it through the computer.
Okay. And when you do that, they tell you, they get your number, it's a private number, and how to go about staying in touch with them, correct?
No, I don't recall
You
of
don't
how
recall
to
any of that,
how to stay in touch. They just give you a PIN number or something.
just a pin.
You don't keep in touch with them, or if you have any more information, you can add it in. It's not you keep in touch with them type of, not that I know of, unless something changed.
But there was a $25,000 reward. Are you going to wait for them to call you on this pin number?
25,000. It was like you get $1,000. I think. I thought 25,000. Where that number come from? They don't tell you how much. I think it was $1,000.
So at the time, you think it was $1,000. Correct?
Crime Stoppers don't go higher than 1,000. I don't.
So you're not aware of the rules and regulations surrounding Crime Stoppers. That's what it sounds like, correct?
I called. My sister told me to call. They were concerned. It was so many red flags that I called. I wasn't aware if it was 25, but I didn't get anything.
You didn't get any. You weren't worried about it at all.
They didn't pick him up until like probably a year later. So, and that's when I thought you'd get money if they make an arrest. But they still didn't pay me when they picked him up.
In fact, you retained an attorney to try to get your money from Crime Stoppers,
Right.
did you not?
Correct. I helped them catch the bad guy. Why didn't give me my fund?
So you weren't concerned about this money when you initially called, but then you go and hire an attorney for $1,000?
I mean, if I helped you did your job, I think I should get paid for it.
And your attorney, the last time you talked to him was when?
I talked to Bill yesterday. I think he called me. He said, you got to be in court.
Bill Waters.
Yes.
And remember, we had this deposition a couple weeks ago on, I think it was a Thursday or something like that. You had actually talked to Mr. Waters the day before, correct?
Yes, I talked to both offices because you said the day before.
The day before our deposition, when you and I.
Yeah, I talked to everybody because they was telling me I needed to be there, and they gave me a short notice. And when I was in Ohio, yeah.
So Mr. Waters, for all this time, when did you actually hire Mr. Waters?
I hired him probably after Henry got arrested because I was contacting Crime Stoppers and they were giving me a hard time because I wasn't, they said I wasn't anonymous anymore because the investigators kept coming to my house and now that my name was out there, they weren't going to give it to me. So I wanted to get paid for helping them catch him or whatever.
So Mr. Waters is still representing you on this issue, correct?
Was he
He is, isn't he?
Sure, he's still overseeing everything, and he helped me with a lot of stuff. Like for someone was gonna be living in my house, like any little legal thing I do, go to him and ask him. We stay, we
On
remain.
this issue with Crime Stoppers, he's still helping you, isn't he? Because he's told you it's whether or not the state attorney gives certain information to Crime Stoppers, whether or not you get paid.
Crime Stoppers made it clear that I'm not getting paid. Crime Stoppers is not paying me. They told me I'm not anonymous. If you become a state witness or anything like that, Crime Stoppers is for anonymous people. That's what they explained to me. They explained that to him. I wasn't getting paid. That was nipped in the bud. Crime Stoppers not paying me.
Mr. Waters represented you for several years in attempts to get your money from Crime Stoppers, did he not?
He had no luck.
Not yet.
Crime Stoppers not paying me.
Okay.
They made it clear.
They've made it clear to you? But
Yeah.
Mr. Waters is still representing you on that.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned that Henry, when he comes over the week before, he's all balled up, he's mad about something. And had he ever come over to your house all balled up, mad at something before?
No, not like that.
Not like that. In fact, you never talked to Henry that week, did you?
Which week?
The week before the murder. You never talked to him, did you?
I did talk to Henry.
No further questions.
Redirect.
Ms. Wilcoxon, you were asked questions about the phone number as it relates to 408-8669, how you're able to remember that. And Mr. Cummings talked about depositions, and you've had a lot of questions. Is it fair to say that number's come up a lot over the past 6 years?
No.
You never asked about it in depositions or all that stuff?
No. I mean, the number didn't come up, but I know that he had another phone.
Okay.
The actual number haven't came up.
Coming to court, you would have reviewed your statements and things like that in order to get ready and make sure that and we've talked about the phone number or anything along those lines?
No, actually, I haven't even seen my own statement I gave to the investigators. The only statement I've seen since all of this happened was the statement from Chuck Hobbs' office with Beth. That's the only statement I've seen.
Given Mr. Collins asked you the question about why it is that that number stands out to you and why you're able to remember it here in the courtroom, why can you remember that number versus the other ones?
Because he said it. If you say one of my numbers, I can recognize one of my numbers.
So it's because I refresh your recollection by saying the number?
Correct.
Okay. All right. You also said something about Mr. Waters, and there was a lot of questions asked about Mr. Waters' representation. You said he helped you out with other stuff?
Yes.
Okay. What do you mean?
Like if I have legal questions or whatever, he's told me I can call him or contact him. I was buying a house and I was asking him about a tenant or having someone stay at my house. Like I wanted to know the law just in case it goes sour. I can put them, they can just, the way to get them out. And my sister would.
Let me stop you right there. So basically he's an attorney you talk to on a regular basis.
Yeah,
for
like
all
with
kinds of
personal,
legal issues.
yes,
Okay.
personal issues.
So if any questions did come up, he's obviously the one you're going to ask.
Yes, and he can lead me in the right direction to go.
Okay.
Did you ever have a question of this witness? We'll go sidebar. Write your question down, please. let the record reflect jury's out of the courtroom. Ms. Wilcoxon, you said something about having reviewed the statement you gave in Mr. Hobbs' office. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And when did you review that?
When I came here.
What's that?
When I came to court.
Today you talking about?
No, when I was called to come in last time.
When we had the hearing about the statement?
Oh, yes.
And at that point in time, we had somebody from Mr. Waters' office here, and that was when we were deciding whether the statement could be used. Is that what you're talking about?
Right.
Okay. Have you reviewed it since then?
No. I forgot. We were supposed to talk
Don't,
about
hold on a second. I'm just looking at the court minutes. It would appear that hearing occurred back on May 3rd, 2017. Best I can reconstruct, that's when we had this hearing. Either side have a different recollection of it.
No, sir, that's my recollection as well.
That's mine as well,
Is that when you're talking about, Ms. Wilcoxon, back in May when we had this hearing?
Yes.
Either side want to inquire further on this proffer?
No, sir, I don't want to inquire further.
Am I permitted to inquire, Your Honor?
About her review of the statement? Yes.
Yes, sir. Ms. Wilcoxon, at no time during these questions, even if you think what I'm asking you calls for you to talk about those communications, please don't mention anything about any prior communications or that prior statement, okay?
Okay.
Did I understand your testimony today correctly, that some of the things about which you're testifying here in the courtroom, your recollection was refreshed as to those things in reviewing the paperwork, including that statement prior to May 3rd?
No.
It's not clear what
break
I'm
it down
asking.
to what you.
What I want to know is if, you said you reviewed that statement.
Correct.
Did that statement bring back in your memory, refresh your memory, help you remember facts about this case?
No, not much.
But some?
Some. Probably. It reminded me of, took me back to some, but it didn't bring back too much of anything. Dates or times, I still don't remember exactly days or times or anything.
Out of an abundance of caution, can we have Mr. Cummings step out? I don't want to create an issue. Did that statement refresh your recollection about your interaction with Crime Stoppers, the Tallahassee Police Department, or the state attorney?
Yes, a little bit about the Crime Stopper incident. Yeah, it did.
Which you've testified about here today?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions.
Further from the state?
As a refreshing recollection, it helps you remember the event, but not anything specifics. Is that what I understand it?
Correct.
No further.
Who gave you the statement to review?
I don't know who it was. They just called me in, and I think it was somebody from Henry Defense Team. Probably.
Somebody what?
I don't know who gave it to me. I don't know their name.
Somebody from Mr. Waters' office was there with you. It seemed, my recollection is kind of vague. Wasn't there a lady from
Yes.
Mr. Waters' office there with you?
Yes, it was.
Is that who gave you this statement to read over?
I don't recall who gave me the statement.
Right.
I mean, I went in the room and they were sitting there.
I could just tell the court, we gave it to her at the deposition, which was
Yeah,
prior to the May 3rd hearing.
Okay. So was it at the deposition that you read over it, or was it at the hearing day?
Everything happened the same day, I think. Well, when we went in there, then we came in.
So your deposition was May 1st, so this is all happening pretty close in time, I guess.
Yes.
Do you remember which of those days it was that you read your prior statement?
No, I don't recall. But I think everything happened in the same day. I don't think I came 2 days. Yeah, everything happened that same day. When I came in, then I came in, they were asking me the questions.
So the day they were asking you the questions is when you saw the statement?
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll let the witness step down and step out. Don't go far. We're just going to take a short break.
Okay.
Further argument from the defense?
Your Honor, the defense position would be that she's testified specifically as to what her interaction was with people from Crime Stoppers and law enforcement. The portion of the communications ruled privilege that pertains specifically to that is that, during the course of writing this statement, as previously discussed at that hearing, she told members of Mr. Hobbs' legal staff, including investigators, that she made the statement, made up her initial allegations about Mr. Segura in order to get the Crime Stoppers money. I think she's opened the door by testifying that her recollection as to what happened with Crime Stoppers was refreshed by that statement.
Stay.
The problem is that the testimony that she says was relevant towards, first of all, the testimony that she says is relevant towards refreshing was testimony that was elicited by the defense. They were the ones that asked all the questions regarding Crime Stoppers. Obviously, you cannot open your own door. That's pretty obvious in that situation. So anything that may have been contained in that privileged communication that is in reference, we're talking about a recollection of her own, and quite frankly, she testified consistently with that. In addition to that, the other problem we have is, once again, the court ruled that the information was privileged, the information contained inside the document. Nothing that she said on the stand revealed that particular content and then would open the door and make it unprivileged. Simply saying that the statement existed, that's not privileged. The fact that a statement exists, we all know that. That's something that everybody knows about. It's the content of it that is the privileged aspect and the basis for the court's ruling. The fact that that statement was given under the representation of the private counsel and the contents thereof is what constitutes a privilege. She at no point has waived that attorney-client privilege here in the courtroom by just simply saying that I looked at that. As the court's also stated, it's clear that she, by the inquiry by the court, when she looked at it, is back in the hearings when we basically forced her to look at it because we had a hearing in depositions about that very thing. The depositions that she was taking was for the purposes of ferreting out whether or not that was given during the course of a privilege. So she had to go in and look at it, and was, in all honesty, was forced to look at it by the defense. So they not only forced because they are the ones that had to ask the question, so they were giving it to her and showing it to her and asking her questions based upon it. So they forced not only her to review that document, then they forced this particular issue by saying, and I don't mean forced as in it twisted her arm, I'm just saying that they made the issue an issue by asking the questions on cross-examination having to do with the Crime Stoppers. So essentially they're opening their own door, which we know is not proper.
Mr. Prince?
Very briefly, Your Honor, The cross-examination was following up on statements she made about her recollection being refreshed during direct examination. She's now clarified about what topic her recollection was refreshed, which was the Crime Stoppers. On that basis, I believe she's opened the door.
That's inaccurate, Your Honor. The question about her saying when she looked at that document was on a redirect by the state. It wasn't because it was having to do with that 408 number. That was specifically the question, was if she reviewed it for the purpose of the 408 to remind her about that 408 number. And that was the issue, not anything beyond that.
Looking at the record, and I have the advantage of being able to access it here, the deposition has been made part of the record. The deposition was on May 1st, 2017. The hearing we had was on May 3rd, 2017. I believe that is the correct date based upon court minutes. Though her testimony is a little confused, it's clear in the deposition that she's being shown the statement that's referenced. She's not crystal clear at this point in time when she saw the statement, whether it was May 1st or May 3rd. It would appear most likely that what she's talking about is what happened at the deposition on May 1st. Really wasn't any reason for her to look at it again for the hearing. As my recollection is, she did not testify in the hearing. Other than she may have indicated that she was asserting the privilege, but I don't think there was any substantive testimony given about what happened. If somebody has a different recollection, you can bring that to my attention, but the only question was whether she was asserting the privilege. So I don't think there has been what would be viewed as a recent refreshing of recollection. There is certainly no idea that the state has asked her to refresh her recollection. The issue is whether by mentioning that statement she waived the privilege she had earlier asserted. I don't find that she has waived her privilege. And although the law does say if someone has used a document to refresh their recollection for testimony, the cross-examining party has a right to see what they refresh their recollection. She has said that she refreshed her recollection to some extent about her dealings with Crime Stoppers from reviewing the statement. But that was basically elicited by the defense, her dealings with Crime Stoppers, and frankly, I don't know what it would be that was asked that had any bearing on the direct examination that she provided. So I am not going to find that there has been a waiver of the privilege. I'm not going to allow the defense to go into it based upon what she said. In light of that also, I think I'm just going to stay out of the question about what she told Crime Stoppers that was asked by the jury. I just think we're going to be running the risk of causing some further problem on a jury question that is discretionary. If somebody has a different opinion, I'll let you be heard on that. Anybody want to be heard on that?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
All right. We still have a couple of questions we need to ask the witness. I think what I'll do is, I know we need to take a break, but let's go ahead and get the witness back in, get those questions out of the way, and then we'll take a break everybody hadn't had a break. I know the jury has, but y'all probably in need of a break, I would assume. All right, let's have the jury in, let's have the witness in. Come on back up here, please, Ms. Wilcox. Have a seat. I'm sorry for the interruption, but every once in a while I have to earn my money and make some legal rulings. So anyway, that's what we were doing, so shouldn't be, that's just part of the normal process. We had a couple of questions from the jury that I'm now going to ask Ms. Wilcoxon. You had mentioned that you had a gun. What kind of gun did you have?
I think it was a 380.
We're talking about back in November 2010.
Oh, 9mm.
I beg your pardon?
9mm.
You had a 9mm?
Yes.
Okay. Where did you keep that?
In the living room.
Okay. Do you know whether you still had your gun during the time that, the murder would have occurred?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any follow-up, Mr.
No, Your Honor.
Any follow-up, Mr. Cummings? All right. You can step down. No, we don't do it again. Okay. You can step down. Do we want to keep her subject to recall?
She will be subject to recall, Your Honor,
Right.
however, she can go about her business.
Go about her business?
Yes.
Let me comment. Go on, Ms. Wilcoxon. I'm sorry. Comment on questions. Questions by the jury are a little controversial among judges. Many judges don't believe it's appropriate to have any questions from the jury, that they feel like it just kind of raises potential problems. I think it's an important process, and I was one of the first judges in the circuit 15 years ago to start letting juries ask questions, but it does have to be very limited. We can't get in a situation where we, just go back and forth and do it, repeatedly. I can tell you most of the judges in the state don't allow any questions at all. I think it is a good process, and so I do it, but it does have to be limited, and so to the extent that frustrates anybody, I'm sorry, but those are the rules we have to operate under. Okay? I know y'all had a break, but we didn't, so we need to take a brief break. So anyway, we'll take as close to 5 minutes as we can.
And are those kept during the regular course of business with the U.S. government?
Yes, they are.
And are they made basically at the time during the regular course of business?
Yes, they are.
And were they made at the time that the information or what is transpiring that they reflect is done?
Yes.
And those are official government records for the United States government, correct?
These are official government records.
Your Honor, at this time, I would move State's Exhibit number 135 in evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Be admitted.
Now let's talk as to the actual records. You mentioned that those are records as on page 2 as it reflects Mr. Henry Segura.
Yes, sir.
And where does it say that he was housed at that time?
There's a code that says FCL, and underneath that which stands for facility, and underneath that there's another code that says OKL, and that stands for Oklahoma City.
Okay, and what are the dates that he was housed in Oklahoma City?
His Oklahoma City.
Okay, and what are the dates that he was housed in Oklahoma City?
His starting date was October 3rd, 2011, and then he departed Oklahoma City October 12, 2011.
Okay. And does those informations tell you which cell he would have been in?
Yes, they do.
Okay, and if I can turn to the next page, you also have records there as it relates to Kelsey Kennard.
Yes.
Okay, was Mr. Kennard also another inmate there?
Yes, he was.
Okay, and when was Mr. Kennard located, or where was Mr. Kennard located?
He was also at Oklahoma City.
And when was he at Oklahoma City?
He was there from September 13, 2011 through October 19, 2011.
So he would have been there at the same time as Mr. Segura?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does it also reflect whether or not Mr. Segura and Mr. Kennard were ever housed together?
Yes, it does.
What does it tell us regarding that?
They were in the same housing unit, the same cell. One was in an upper bunk, one was in a lower bunk.
So that goes in and tells you even what bunk they're in.
Yes, sir.
And how long were they together?
Approximately 9 days. Basically the entire time Segura was there, the October. So basically they were in the same cell approximately 9 days together.
No questions, sir. No questions, sir.
Cross? None?
No questions, sir.
All right, any juror have a question of this witness? All right, let's step down. Do we need to keep him any further?
He is not, Your Honor.
He's excused?
He can be released.
He's excused. Thank you for being
Thank you,
here.
sir.
Call your next witness.
Your Honor, it's not stated, we'll call Kelvin Kennard.
Come on over here, please, sir. Do you face the clerk and be sworn, please? Raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Have a seat. Slide up the microphone, please, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jurors?
Yes, I'm Kelsey Kennard.
Okay. And Mr. Kennard, it's my understanding that you are actually imprisoned.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how long have you been in prison?
11 years, about 2 months, 3 months.
Okay. During that term of imprisonment, were you in Oklahoma City back in 2011?
Yes, sir.
During that time period, did you have a cellmate by the name of Henry Segura?
Yes, sir.
Do you see here, Mr. Segura here in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Could you please point to him and indicate the article of clothing he's wearing?
The guy in the yellow striped tie with the blue suit, the glasses.
May the record please reflect that he's indicated the defendant, Mr. Segura. Mr. Kennard, during that time period, do you remember how many days or how long you were there with Mr. Segura?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, roughly about a week.
Okay. During that time period, did you and Mr. Segura have an opportunity to talk, obviously?
Yes, sir.
While Mr. Segura was there and in talking, did he ever talk about why it is that he had been arrested?
Yes, sir, he did.
Did he ever give you any information? What did he tell you about that?
Oh, he told me he was incarcerated for murder and that he was just being picked up from Minnesota, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Did he give you, at any point, did Mr. Segura tell you anything about whether he did the murders?
At first he kept talking about it, and then I kept telling him, like, don't tell me your case. And then the next day he kept talking about it, but after about the third day, yes, sir, he went in full details of what he was in and what he was charged with.
When you say the first time, the first 3 days, you're telling him not to talk to you, was he saying anything at that point about specifics?
Yeah, he told me that he was from Florida. He had killed. He had killed 4 people and went to Minnesota. And I was like, "Oh, don't tell me your case." And I told him, don't tell nobody in here your case.
But he told you anyway.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did he tell you on that third day about that case?
Oh, he had told me that he killed his baby moms for because him and her was going through it for some child support issues or something like that, and he was upset because she was obviously had more money than him, and she wouldn't take him off because he had a little boy or something by her, and he killed her and the kids and everybody.
Okay. Did he give you, so he says that there was a money issue having to do with child support,
Yes, sir.
and he was upset because she apparently had more money. Did he give you any other details regarding the?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he was like that. He knew that she was something with some drugs or something, and he tried to get her to take her off child support, and she wouldn't. And he like, I just lost it.
Did he say anything about who was present, or how he killed her? Let me ask that. Did he say anything about how he killed her?
He shot her and one of the kids, and he drowned two of them.
Did he give you any information about why it is he would have shot two but then only drowned two?
No, sir, he didn't.
Did he give you any information about whether or not all four of those persons were there at the same time, or anything along those lines?
No, because like I said at first, I could tell it was bothering him, right? And then when he started telling it, I was like, listen, I'm a dude you really don't want to tell your case to like that, right? And so he kind of started stumbling around, but he was making rap songs about it too, so.
What do you mean he was making rap songs about it?
He was actually rapping about it.
And what was he saying in those raps?
How he had killed her and the kids, and he was nothing to be played with.
Did he make any statements to you about where he may or may not have hidden any kind of murder weapons or anything like that?
Yes, sir. He had I think a wife or something and at this time that the gun that he used was supposed to have been at her house in an old car or something in the motor or something to that nature.
And did he tell you anything about that kind of car we're talking about?
No, sir.
Did he tell you anything else regarding these murders? The rap songs you're talking about, was that just a one-time occurrence or over a time period?
Nah, like for the whole week he was in there, he was making all kind of raps, but that one rap, he wrote Server to him. I think I actually mailed him out to somebody, like his wife or somebody, because when he left him behind. And I had, like when you leave Oklahoma City, you can't take nothing with you. So I actually had to put my name on the mail and send it out to I think it was his wife or somebody.
Anything else he told you regarding these murders?
Yeah, it was this one girl he used to go with. He had went to her and asked her to buy a gun or something, and she denied it. She wouldn't get the gun for him, and he was like, if he get out, he was gonna kill her too.
Did you just talk to him the one time? I know he had the rap, but did you just talk to him the one time about the cases? Or you
Nah,
talked to him more
we
than
talked.
once?
We spoke several in that week. We spoke several times.
The information you're talking about, did that all come out at the one time, or is it just over the course of that week?
Over a course of that week.
At some point, did you tell law enforcement about the statements that Mr. Segura told
Yes,
you?
yes, sir, I did.
Why is it that you told law enforcement that?
Well, for one, I'm a father, and two, a part of my plea deal in the federal courthouse is that if I have any knowledge of any criminal activity and I don't report it, I could be prosecuted for that. That was part of my plea deal.
Okay. So you're doing this, one, to keep from being prosecuted,
Yes, sir.
and two, you have children of your own.
Yes, sir.
Are you also looking to get benefit, maybe a sentence reduction?
Well, as you know, that the government can never promise you nothing, but it's an and/or situation. I could, but I couldn't.
Okay.
Because
But you're hoping for it.
Yes, sir.
Based upon that, Does that mean you're being untruthful?
No, sir.
Cross? Yes. Mr. Kennard, how many times, if at all, have you been convicted of a felony offense?
I think 5.
And you've got 11 years served at this point. How much did you have served back in 2011? About 5 years or so?
No, actually, I received one time cut already. I had 16 years and 8 months, and they reduced it to 14 years.
So you were originally sentenced to 16 years,
Yes, sir.
and at some point it got reduced to 14 years.
Yes, sir.
Was that on a post-plea sentence reduction?
Again, my plea deal was if I had any criminal activities that I knew about, I was supposed to report it. So I did. At that time, they didn't give me nothing as sentence. So when they convicted the people that was involved with me at that time, they later reduced my sentence.
They reduced your sentence based on the government filing a motion for substantial assistance,
Yes, sir.
which you didn't have at the time of your plea.
Nah, I cooperated, but it's a process in the federal system that has to go through a whole lot of investigation, billing cases and things of that nature. And when you actually do get locked up, they might let that person out to cooperate. So when that person get through cooperating, then they come in, they too receive a time cut, and then that's when I get mine as well.
So you were originally sentenced to 16 years. You got a time cut on a subsequently filed motion for substantial assistance, correct?
Yes, by the government.
And the government is the only party that can file a motion for substantial assistance, correct? That's your
No.
understanding?
No, I can file one if I feel like that my assistance that I turned over to the government was substantial enough. Yes, I can file one under a motion to compel the government and lay grounds out why. And then if the government, which is my USA attorney, if she feel that my assistance was substantial enough, then she would grant me one.
You're aware, sir, that not even a federal judge can compel a U.S. attorney to file a motion for substantial assistance unless they're withholding it for like racial or gender reasons, right?
I mean, when I filed mine in 2011 or 12, that's what I filed on, and the government told me if I withdraw, they would grant me mine. So, and that's what they did.
So they granted you one already,
Yes, sir.
and you're hoping for an additional sentence reduction.
Yes, sir.
And when you say you would be prosecuted, you're aware you wouldn't actually be prosecuted if you didn't tell them anything. A condition of your plea was that you testified truthfully, if called upon to do so, regarding criminal activity that you have knowledge of, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're aware then that it's not actually a criminal offense to not proactively report a new offense?
Well, all I know is my plea agreement stated that, and that's what I must do.
Okay. So your understanding of your plea was that you would be charged with new offenses if you didn't come forward?
Yes.
Okay. I noticed when Mr. Fuchs asked you why you were coming forward, first thing you mentioned is that you're a father, and he had to kind of drag out of you that you want a sentence reduction. Why were you hesitant to give that information?
Well, I don't think I was.
Well, he asked you why. You gave two answers. The fact that you
We're
were
not
hoping.
going to argue with the witness.
Yes, sir.
French.
Yes, sir. Do you recall Mr. Fuchs asking you why you were here, why you were offering information against Mr. Segura?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you recall giving him two reasons, one of which was that you were a father?
Yes, sir, I do.
And it was only after he prompted you with an additional question, specifically about whether you were hoping to get a sentence reduction, that you admitted that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So my question is, why did he have to specifically point you to that? When you were asked the question, why are you doing this? Why didn't you offer that information truthfully?
He didn't because, like, again, in the federal court system, that we really don't have to turn that information over. I don't know how it works over here in the state, but in the federal system, we don't have to turn that information over because it's something that's already noted, and we don't have to turn that information over.
You don't have to turn what information over?
That we will receive a time cut. We don't have to state that for the record.
Are you saying it's your understanding you will receive a time cut?
No, I said that in the federal system, we do not have to state that we will receive a time cut, or we will or we won't. We don't have to state that.
I see.
We don't be asked those questions.
I see. Okay. Let me ask you about these raps that you say Mr. Segura wrote or sang. Was anybody else around when he did those raps?
He had several homeboys there that I also told him not to talk to his case about. But I can't, like, it's been a little while ago. It was two other dudes there from Florida at that point, and I can't remember their names or nothing, though.
Okay. And so the two people who would have been able to corroborate your story about what Mr. Segura said, you never provided that information to law enforcement.
No, I didn't.
And likewise, the written rap that you say would have corroborated what he was saying about these offenses, you sent that off to his wife and also didn't provide that to law enforcement.
I think in my original letter I did. I told them that, because I wrote the courthouse, I told them that they can check my call log, because I not only sent letters to his house, I spoke to his wife. If you go back to 2011, you can see his phone numbers on my list, where I called her several times for him and spoke with her while he was there and after he left.
My question is, you sent the rap that you claim he wrote to his wife, not to law enforcement, correct?
Yes, that's what he asked me to do with it, because he had other mail in there too.
And so all of the corroborative evidence that could have supported what you were saying, the other witnesses' names and the rap, is gone, right?
I sent it to his wife.
My question is, that evidence is gone,
I sent it to his wife.
okay? And likewise didn't provide law enforcement with the names of people who could have corroborated your story. Is that true?
I sent it to his wife.
Okay. I saw that you mentioned during your questioning with Mr. Fuchs, you said that you told Mr. Segura he's not a guy, you're not a guy that he wants to be talking to about his case.
Yes, sir.
Are you somebody who, besides the time you've already told us about, when you got a 2-year sentence reduction, has either cooperated with the government or attempted to cooperate with the government to get a sentence reduction for yourself in the past?
Well, I never, his situation, I never ran across nobody like that. But yes, I have cooperated with the government on a high level, and it's never been a doubt about my cooperation.
So you're somebody who's eager to cooperate with the government?
No, I'm not eager, but again, my plea agreement stated that if I have criminal activity knowledge, I must turn it over.
Okay, so over what period of time have you been cooperating with the government, providing information to them about criminal offenses?
Oh, several years now on several cases.
How many cases?
If I can remember correctly, like 3, 4, maybe.
Okay. Been to court to testify in those cases?
Yes.
Okay. Is that why you got the sentence reduction? You came to court and testified against the defendant in that other case?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, he actually pleaded out, though. Once he seen they had me, he actually pleaded out.
How many times have you attempted to provide assistance to the government, meaning reach out and contact, or have your attorney reach out and contact somebody from the government to tell, hey, I've got information about another case for you?
Again, in the federal system, it works different. Once you turn the information over, it might be an ongoing case that they may don't even use you because they might have enough people already, and then it could take years on down the line. So it could take maybe 10 years just to build this case on this certain individual. So it's probably still ongoing cases that I gave information on that they just haven't used me for yet.
My question is, how many times have you either provided information or attempted to provide information?
I can't give you an accurate number on that. It was several cases.
More than 10?
No.
You don't know how many times you've attempted to provide information?
No.
How many times you've provided information that hasn't come to fruition in the form of a motion for substantial assistance?
I can't give you an accurate number on that.
Isn't it true, Mr. Kennard, that the reason you said Mr. Segura shouldn't talk to you about what he was accused of doing, what he was alleged to do, is because you're somebody who takes information like that and uses it to try and put yourself in a better position with respect to sentencing?
No, I just give the government the truth.
No further questions.
Redirect? Yes, Your Honor, actually, there's a couple of questions I'm going to ask that would be more subject for recall. But
Hold on one second.
Thank you, Your Honor. When Mr. Segura was there with you, did you have any trouble sleeping?
Yes, some nights he used to just wake up and you could hear him moaning, and he'd just get up because we was allowed 2 chairs in the room, and he'll get in his chair and sit at the foot of the bed for a few hours.
Okay. Did he ever wake up screaming as if he has nightmares or something?
Yes, sir, he did.
Okay. At some point, did Mr. Segura talk to you about the fact that there were only 2 people at the house initially, but 2 more people came home?
No, sir, he didn't. I can't recall that.
Remember talking to law enforcement officers back in November of 2011 when they came to see you?
Yes, I think one of the agents, I can't
Investigator Basio, sound right?
yes.
Bald guy?
Vincent?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Would it help refresh your recollection if I showed you a copy of his report that may contain information that you had?
Yes, sir.
You may have heard it on me. Without reading this, read this to yourself, not out loud. Does that help refresh your recollection?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember that? Do you remember anything about him saying anything about somebody being home and then 2 other people coming home?
If I can't recall. It was a while ago, but
Well, don't guess. So, if you recall or you don't.
I don't.
Doesn't refresh your recollection?
No, sir.
Okay. Hold on. You said that Mrs. Segura said he put the gun in a car. Did he tell you anything about where in the car?
Yes, sir. In the motor of the car.
Okay, in the motor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did he say anything about whether the car worked or not?
No, I think he just told me it was a car sitting in his yard at his wife's house, his wife's house or something, and the car was there.
Okay. And he put it in the motor, in the actual motor or in the motor area?
In the motor area, I guess, because I don't think you can put a gun in the actual motor.
That's why I asked the question. Thank you, sir. No further questions.
All right, any juror have a question of this witness? We'll go sidebar, please. Did Mr. Segura tell you anything about the type of gun he used?
I think if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, speak to the jury.
if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, but I think it's like a 9mm or something.
But it was a pistol, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. All right. Any follow-up, Mr. Hughes?
There you are.
Follow-up?
I guess that would have had, yes, sir, I did. I guess that would have had to be a semi-automatic then, right?
I'm not really too familiar with guns, so I couldn't. I don't know the difference between them like that.
You don't know about whether 9mm come as revolvers? You only know that it was a 9mm?
Yes.
Okay, no further questions.
All right. All right. You can step down. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, can we approach, please?
Okay.